Sawadee good morning and welcome to Newsline. Thank you very much for joining us this Wednesday morning. It's August 26th of 2015. I'm Cholapansa Narula. Let's begin with our first story. In Thailand moves forward. The name list for military appointments has been submitted for royal endorsement, according to Thai Prime Minister General Prayut Chan-o-cha. General Prayut confirmed on Tuesday that the list for appointment of positions in the armed forces has indeed been submitted for His Majesty the King's consideration. Responding to media anticipations of the appointment of General Pricha Chan-o-cha as the next Commander-in-Chief of the Army, General Prayut asserted that each potential candidate for the post were all qualified and people should not worry whether his younger brother would become the new army chief. Meanwhile, Admiral Grayson Jansuwanit, the Commander-in-Chief of the Navy, said on Tuesday that the most appropriate of the candidates for the top Navy post has been selected, despite all candidates being competent. He added that in reaching the decision, consideration was given to the current circumstances within the country and the need to maintain peace and order. Prime Minister Prayut Chan-o-cha has tasked his deputies with continuing with the country's strategic roadmap and creating economic stability for Thailand. The Prime Minister revealed after the cabinet meeting his tasks for various ministries. Deputy Prime Minister Air Chief Marshal Prachin Chantong will oversee the Ministry of Education and the Ministry of Information and Communication Technology. Deputy Prime Minister Somkit Jatusipitak will oversee 7 ministries related to economics, as well as the Ministry of Foreign Affairs. Deputy Prime Minister General Thanasak Patimapakon will be in charge of overseeing the Ministry of Culture and the Ministry of Tourism and Sports. General Prayut added that he emphasized that the entire cabinet see the government's policies to fruition, especially the country's economic policies, in order to create stable investments and infrastructure, including the completion of the country's high-speed railway projects and motorways. The Prime Minister also concurred with the economic plan proposed by Mr. Somkit, which is to implement policies that enhance buying power and also bolster consumer confidence. The government will also focus on the utilization of technology to increase the value of agricultural products. As for the country's foreign affairs policy, the Prime Minister said the Ministry of Foreign Affairs must work hand in hand with various economic ministries to create economic cooperation with foreign countries and boost investors' confidence. The Thai Prime Minister is scheduled to make an official visit to the Philippines on August 27th and 28th as part of his ongoing efforts to strengthen ties and cooperation with other ASEAN countries. Deputy Government Spokesperson Major General Wirachon Sukontapatipak stated that Prime Minister Prayut Chan-o-cha, along with his wife and entourage, will be visiting the Republic of the Philippines this Thursday and Friday. The main objective of the trip is to tighten the two countries' relations and cooperation in various areas, particularly trade and investment, education and aviation. After taking office, Prime Minister Prayut has been making visits to other ASEAN member nations in a bid to officially introduce himself. The Philippines is his 8th destination in the region. In addition, he said the cabinet was updated on the development of the special economic areas as well.
The cabinet today acknowledged the result of the second meeting of Thailand-Cambodia Joint Working Groups on the development of Special Economic Zone. The meeting covered several areas of cooperation, including opening a new checkpoints rail link between Thailand and Cambodia, support services for cross-border transport, as well as trade and investment. The Cabinet today also acknowledged a proposal put forth by the Office of the National Human Rights Commission of Thailand. The proposal includes policy suggestions and guidelines to improve legislation on individual rights and freedoms, including right to compensation for those who have been impacted by unrest in the southern border area. This proposal shall provide further support for citizens who have been affected by the unrest, whether through death in the family, injury, or property destruction. The proposal covers a number of issues, including clear guidelines and conditions of assistance for each case, policy to ensure follow-up on cases with injury and psychological impact, as well as vocational support to those who have been affected by the unrest.
The Cabinet has given the green light to the guideline to be used by security units in controlling demonstrators in accordance with the new Public Demonstration Act. Government spokesperson Major General Sansern Kao Kamnert revealed that the Cabinet has agreed to the proposed operational framework under the Public Demonstration Act 2015 and two related draft announcements of the Prime Minister's office. The framework is to be adopted by security officers in crowd control missions and to be respected by protesters. The new law clearly stipulates that the people have liberty to hold public gatherings as long as they are free of weapons, and that authorities must use force only as necessary and in a non-discriminating manner. The force is also to be intensified gradually from light to heavy. All important details are covered in the operational guideline, ranging from required budgets to equipment allowed to be used on protesters. If the Administrative Court orders termination of a protest, security officers must move in to clear the gathering site, restore the area to its normal state, and facilitate protesters in returning home. As demonstrators are required to seek permission for their gathering 24 hours in advance, the guideline also reminds authorities to use careful discretion before agreeing to the request. The National Legislative Assembly Whip has been particularly worried about an article in the draft constitution. Spokesman of the NLA Whip Jet Sirathranon and Secretary General of the NLA Whip Somchai Sawangkan on Tuesday joined in a press conference on the latest Whip meeting. Both said that the NLA Whip has concerns about Article 276 of the draft charter, which the Constitution Drafting Committee has submitted to the National Reform Council for review before its members cast their votes to endorse or reject it on September 6. The content of Article 276 is about the proportion of members in the committee in charge of drafting organic laws, which currently stipulates that more than half of the total members must be from CDC or their appointed individuals. The NLA Whip believes that such a condition shows distrust against the NLA's role in deliberating draft laws and can be considered the violation of the legislative power. Meanwhile, a member of the National Reform Council has stated that he will reject the draft charter, which will soon be brought up in the council to be voted on, as it would not help solve any problem in Thailand. Mr. Wanchai Sonsari said that he will vote to reject the draft of the new constitution because there remain many points in it that won't be effective in addressing Thailand's problems. Among the points is the setting up of a reconciliation strategic committee, which he said will likely lead to a crisis and a conflict between old and new power groups. Mr. Wanchai added that he is now collecting the names of his fellow NRC members to join him in a petition to the Council's President, asking him to present the draft charter to the Constitutional Court to interpret what the absence of the preamble to the draft constitution might mean, as he stressed that the preamble is crucial for the draft to be complete. Now to the CDC. The spokesman of the Constitution Drafting Committee believes that if the public referendum will have to take place, such a process should happen by the month of November. CDC spokesman General Ratana Wanit said on Tuesday that if the draft charter gets the endorsement from the National Reform Council, the preparation of the public referendum must start by September 7. He said that the Election Commission has the direct responsibility to find the printing house to handle the publishing of the draft constitution copy and the key points of the new charter, which will help the public to conveniently understand it. He added that a total of 17 million copies will be printed and they should be ready for public distribution by November 15. The CDC spokesman reckoned that if more than 80% of Thailand's households receive these documents by the end of November, eligible voters should be able to voice out their opinions in the public referendum around the middle of next January. The private sector has urged the government to urgently launch measures to stimulate domestic consumption after the Thai industry sentiments dropped for 7 months in a row. President of the Federation of Thai Industries, Suphan Mongkol said the Thai industry's sentiments in July decreased to 83, with the risk factors being an economic slowdown in Thailand and other countries, sluggish exports, as well as the problem of labor trafficking. This problem might affect the Thai fishery exports in the long run, he said. However, the private sector was still confident that the Thai economy was strong and wanted the government to stimulate domestic consumption instead of exports. He added that the FTI would ask the new Deputy Prime Minister of Economic Affairs to revise the rate of tax levied on SMEs. As for July's production of automobiles, it increased from the same period last year by 9.6% to stand at 160,000 units due to the production of new pickup truck models and also eco cars for exports. The Department of Industrial Promotion is looking to make over small and medium-sized enterprises by enabling them to make products that are better suited to the market demand. From a short list of some 2,000 SMEs, 262 businesses whose products have been deemed to have commercial potential were selected. The firms hail from 3 industrial groups: fashion, household appliances and decorations, and food and processed farm products. The operators of the businesses will be trained in product and service modernization and in tailoring to consumer demand. 60 products made by the group will later be selected for market launches in the ASEAN region. According to Atit Wutikaro, Director General of the Department of Industrial Promotion, exports to ASEAN by SME sector amounted to 1.9 trillion baht in the past year. Most of the exports went to Malaysia, Indonesia, Vietnam, Myanmar and Laos. The launch of the ASEAN Economic Community at the end of this year will create more sale opportunities for SMEs, and the department has set a target for SMEs exports to ASEAN to reach 2.2 trillion baht in 2016. The Thailand Greenhouse Gas Management Organization has launched a greenhouse gas reduction project to encourage all sectors to help decrease the national greenhouse gas emissions. The project is aimed at developing Thailand as a sustainable low-carbon society. Director of Thailand's Greenhouse Gas Management Organization, Prasert Suk Jamonman, said Thailand emitted more than 219 million tons of carbon dioxide equivalent in 2010 and tended to emit more and more greenhouse gases every year. If no action was taken, Thailand's greenhouse gas emission would increase to 498.7 million tons of carbon dioxide equivalent. The organization encourages all sectors to participate in the project, including industrial plants, public and private sectors, communities and schools. The director said their participation in the project would show that they were responsible for the society and also the environment. Media consumption habits have been greatly affected by the modern technological advancements. However, despite the trend towards online and new mediums, the number of traditional broadcast media outlets are still increasing. Banot Sinsap spoke to a media expert to find out how they stay timely.
For many years now, broadcast journalism, television and radio to be specific, have been a dominant way for the masses to consume their news. Over time, broadcasting has followed a basic set of standards, including the length of time for stories and what kind of stories would get coverage. However, cable television had a major impact on these standards, and now, with the internet, there is a vast selection of media content available online easily and instantly accessible through smartphones and computers, and the younger generations are shifting away from traditional media and consuming their information from there instead. Broadcast content makers must work hard to gain the viewers' attention. The president of Asia Pacific Institute for Broadcast Development, or AIBD, Rosarita Niken Widyastuti, made time to speak to NBT World at the AIBD annual gathering that just recently took place in Chiang Mai. Ms. Rosarita has some good insight for media direction in the future.
Now radio and television get a big challenge because of new media. Last time, just analog and terrestrial, but now and the future, we applied digitalization and also digitalized multiplexing. Digitalized multiplexing as progress of technology that one frequency can deliver maybe more than 20 programs. So the challenges in broadcasting for digital multiplexing is the content. So in AIBD, we always discuss about how to make creative content because content is the king.
According to Ms. Rosarita, content must be delivered strategically. Ms. Rosarita suggested that instead of broadcasting, they should try narrow or point casting.
Broadcasting is one channel with many subjects. Narrowcasting more one channel, but with narrow subject, narrow program. And now, point casting. Point casting is a very narrow program, narrow audience. Look like channel jazz music or country music.
In other words, a channel can establish a reputation for a certain topic and maintain a unique identity that audiences will associate with this channel. However, the channel must also be connected via online media and social media to boost awareness for what the channel stands for. During the event, the organization also organized a contest for the AIBD TV Awards 2015 that judged the best TV and radio programs of the past year. 40 entries from 26 countries came in, including 4 television and radio programs awards for programs that covered social and environment issues. After watching each selected program, the AIBD award judges advised content producers to be creative, try to simplify the stories, make them motivational, engaging, and to think of the audience so that they will be able to connect and make use of the content. It is up to the content makers to extract their creative talent to capture the attention of the viewers thirsting for newer and more interesting things to watch. For NBT World, I'm Panot Sinsap in Chiang Mai.
And I will take a short break. Stay tuned right here on Newsline.
To maintain a strong nation, Thailand is promoting 12 core values for the good of the people. The second core value, being honest, sacrificing, showing restraint and determinations in doing good for the majority.
How could you do that to me? Stop it! Huh? Don't you get it? I don't need you anymore. Enough! We're through. There's someone else in my life.
Say no to the past. Bring your own bag. Say no to plastic.
Swadee krab, this is Thailand at large.
The show which is about to take you to the new experiences with the exciting stories.
With charming fascination. With a touch of Thainess.
Join us on NBT World.
Explore with us and you'll know and love Thailand even more than before.
Multiple perspectives, insightful commentary on Thailand with The Insider every Sunday morning at 10:30 on NBT and NBT World.
You're watching Newsline. Thailand and Malaysia are organizing their 103rd Regional Border Committee meeting in Phuket with a focus on the enhancement of bilateral relations and border security. The RBC meeting is being hosted by Thailand at Patong Resort Hotel in Katu district of Phuket province from August 24 till the 26th. Commander of the 4th Army Region, Lieutenant General Prakan Cholayut, is co-chairing the event with Lieutenant General Dato Sri Zulkifli bin Haji Qasim, Army Field Commander of the Malaysian Armed Forces. According to Lieutenant General Prakan, this meeting is not only intended to address sensitive issues between the two sides, but also to bring to the next level the bilateral cooperation to solve security problems along the border while concurrently fostering joint economic and social development. At present, the Thailand-Malaysia RBC is comprised of 6 subcommittees which are responsible for tackling various issues facing the two neighbors. China's central bank cut interest rates and lowered the amount of reserves banks must hold for the second time in 2 months, ratcheting up support for a stuttering economy and a plunging stock market that has sent shockwaves around the world. The moves came after Chinese stocks tumbled again on Tuesday as investors despaired at the lack of policy action from Beijing in response to recent data suggesting the downturn in the world's second-largest economy was deepening. The People's Bank of China said it was cutting the one-year benchmark bank lending rate by 25 basis points to 4.6%, cutting one-year benchmark deposit rates by the same amount, and reducing reserve requirements by 50 basis points to 18% for most big banks. Major Chinese stocks indices nosedived more than 7% on Tuesday, hitting their lowest level since December, following a more than 8% plunge on Monday. The slump had resumed last week despite Beijing's efforts to arrest a 30% crash early in the summer with hundreds of billions of dollars of state-backed share purchases. And that's it for today's edition of Newsline. Thank you very much for joining us. Our email address is newsline.nbt@gmail.com. So if you do have any suggestions or comments, please write to us. Today we say goodbye with an extraordinary wedding where the bride swims to her groom with a scuba tank strapped to her back and a seashell bouquet in her hand. I'm Chalapan Sanarula. See you next time. Sawasdee ka.